Друзья, привет, хай! Приветствую вас на канале Английский язык по плейлистам. Мы продолжаем наш экспресс-курс «Английский язык за 50 уроков». И в рамках нашего плейлиста переходим к практике. И по умолчанию используем краткую форму. Это так легко для меня. Да, и сразу говорим как раз не просто местоимение, а с формой to be. То есть это it's так легко. So easy для меня, for me. It's so easy for me. It's so easy for me. Я сейчас не занят. Я свободен. Я сейчас не занят. То есть я не. I'm not занят. Busy. Сейчас. Now. I'm not busy now. Я свободен. Я. I'm свободен, free. I'm free. I'm not busy now. I'm free. I'm not busy now. I'm free. Это место такое красивое. Это место, this place, такое красивое. Такое is so красивое, beautiful. This place is so beautiful. This place is so beautiful. It's so easy for me. I'm not busy now. I'm free. This place is so beautiful. Я сейчас не на работе. Я дома. Так, я сейчас не на работе. То есть я не. I'm not на работе. At work. Сейчас. Now. I'm not at work now. Я дома. Я. I'm. Дома. At home. I'm at home. I'm not at work now. I'm at home. I'm not at work now. I'm at home. Это не проблема для меня. Это не. It isn't. Проблема. A problem. It isn't a problem. Для меня. For me. It isn't a problem for me. It isn't a problem for me. Мы не заняты. Мы не. We aren't. Заняты. Busy. We aren't busy. We aren't busy. I'm not at work now. I'm at home. It isn't a problem for me. We aren't busy. Я женат или я замужем? Я женат. I'm married. I'm married. I'm married. Это неинтересно мне. Это не. It isn't. Интересно. Interesting. Мне. Дословно для меня. For me. It isn't interesting for me. It isn't interesting for me. Я вижу, что ты не уверен. Я вижу, что. I see that. Ты не уверен. Ты не. You aren't. Уверен. Sure. I see that you aren't sure. I see that you aren't sure. I'm married. It isn't interesting for me. I see that you aren't sure. Он не врач, он учитель. Он не. He isn't. Врач. A doctor. He isn't a doctor. Он учитель. Он. He's. Учитель. A teacher. He's a teacher. He isn't a doctor. He's a teacher. He isn't a doctor. He's a teacher. Этот урок очень полезный. Этот урок. This lesson. Очень. Is very. Полезный. Useful. This lesson is very useful. This lesson is very useful. Он не прав. Скажем с помощью отрицания. Он не. He isn't прав. right. He isn't right. He isn't right. He isn't a doctor. He's a teacher. This lesson is very useful. He isn't right. Моя мама – врач. My mother, врач, is a doctor. My mother is a doctor. My mother is a doctor. Я думаю, что ты не прав. Также не прав говорим с помощью отрицания, по умолчанию. Так, я думаю, что... I think that... Ты не прав. Ты не... You aren't... Прав. Right. I think that you aren't right. I think that you aren't right. Они не бедные. Они очень богатые. Они не... They aren't... Бедные, poor. They aren't poor. Они очень богатые. Они, they're, очень богатые, very rich. They're very rich. They aren't poor, they're very rich. They aren't poor, they're very rich. My mother is a doctor. I think that you aren't right. They aren't poor, they're very rich. Это неинтересно. Это не... It isn't... Интересно. Interesting. It isn't interesting. It isn't interesting. Я не женат. Я не замужем. Я не... I'm not... Женат. Married. I'm not married. I'm not married. Мой отец менеджер. Мой отец. My father. Manager. Is a manager. My father is a manager. My father is a manager. It isn't interesting. I'm not married. My father is a manager. Этот отель очень хороший. Этот отель. This hotel очень хороший. Is very good. This hotel is very good. This hotel is very good. Это не интересно. Это так скучно. Это не... It isn't... Интересно. Interesting. It isn't interesting. Это так скучно. Это... It's... Так скучно. It's so boring. It's so boring. It isn't interesting. It's so boring. It isn't interesting. It's so boring. Это неплохо. Это не... It isn't... Плохо. Bad. It isn't bad. It isn't bad. This hotel is very good. It isn't interesting. It's so boring. It isn't bad. Это не ошибка. Это не... It isn't... Ошибка. A mistake. It isn't a mistake. It isn't a mistake. Это недорого. Это очень дешево. Это не... It isn't... Дорого. Expensive. It isn't expensive. Это очень дешево. Это... It's... Очень дешево. It's very cheap. It's very cheap. It isn't expensive. It's very cheap. It isn't expensive. It's very cheap. Это действительно сложно. Это... It's... Действительно... Really... Сложно. Difficult. It's really difficult. It's really difficult. It isn't a mistake. It isn't expensive. It's very cheap. It's really difficult. Они сейчас не вместе. То есть они не... They aren't... Вместе... Together... Сейчас... Now. They aren't together now. They aren't together now. Это нелегко. Это очень трудно. Это не. It isn't. Легко. Easy. It isn't easy. Это очень трудно. Это it's очень трудно. It's very difficult. It's very difficult. It isn't easy. It's very difficult. It isn't easy. It's very difficult. Он не бедный. Он очень богатый. Он не. He isn't. Бедный. Poor. He isn't poor. Он очень богатый. Он. He's. Очень богатый. He is very rich. He's very rich. He isn't poor. He's very rich. He isn't poor. He's very rich. They aren't together now. It isn't easy. It's very difficult. He isn't poor. He's very rich. Я вижу, что ты не уверен по поводу этого. Я вижу, что... I see that... Ты не уверен. Ты не... You aren't... Уверен. Sure. You aren't sure. По поводу этого. То есть об этом. About it. I see that you aren't sure about it. I see that you aren't sure about it. Это слишком сложно для меня. Это... It's... Слишком сложно. Слишком. Too... Сложно. Difficult. It's too difficult. Для меня... For me. It's too difficult for me. It's too difficult for me. Мой брат студент. Мой брат. My brother. Студент. Is a student. My brother is a student. My brother is a student. I see that you aren't sure about it. It's too difficult for me. My brother is a student. Я холост. Я холост. I'm single. I'm single. I'm single. Она не дизайнер, она медсестра. Она не... She isn't... Дизайнер. A designer. She isn't a designer. Она медсестра. Она... She's... Медсестра. A nurse. She's a nurse. She isn't a designer. She's a nurse. She isn't a designer. She's a nurse. Это не важно. Это не... It isn't... Важно. Important. It isn't important. It isn't important. I'm single. She isn't a designer. She's a nurse. It isn't important. Они не в городе. Они не... They aren't... В городе. In the city. They aren't in the city. They aren't in the city. Этот билет недорогой. Этот билет... This ticket... Не... Isn't... Дорогой. Expensive. This ticket isn't expensive. Он очень дешевый. Он... It's... Очень дешевый. It's very cheap. It's very cheap. This ticket isn't expensive. It's very cheap. This ticket isn't expensive. It's very cheap. Это несложно. Это не... It isn't... Сложно. Difficult. It isn't difficult. Это так легко. Это... It's... Так легко. It's so easy. It's so easy. It isn't difficult. It's so easy. It isn't difficult. It's so easy. They aren't in the city. This ticket isn't expensive. It's very cheap. It isn't difficult. It's so easy. Это неинтересно. Это очень скучно. Это не... It isn't... интересно, interesting. It isn't interesting. Это очень скучно. It's очень скучно. It's very boring. It's very boring. It isn't interesting. It's very boring. It isn't interesting. It's very boring. Он не старый, он очень молод. Он не... He isn't старый, old. He isn't old. Он очень молод. He's очень молод. He's very young. He's very young. He isn't old. He's very young. He isn't old. He's very young. Мы не в парке сейчас. Мы не. We aren't в парке. In the park. Сейчас. No. We aren't in the park now. We aren't in the park now. It isn't interesting. It's very boring. He isn't old. He's very young. We aren't in the park now. Он не женат. Он холост. Он не. He isn't женат. Married. He isn't married. Он холост. Он has холост. Single. He's single. He isn't married. He's single. He isn't married. He's single. Она не уверена по поводу этого. Она не. She isn't уверена. Sure. She isn't sure. По поводу этого. То есть об этом. About it. She isn't sure about it. She isn't sure about it. Я не дома. Я не. I'm not дома. At home. I'm not at home. I'm not at home. He isn't married. He's single. She isn't sure about it. I'm not at home. Это видео не скучное. Оно такое смешное. Это видео. This video не скучное. Не. Isn't скучное. Boring. This video isn't boring. Оно такое смешное. Оно. It's такое смешное. It's so funny. It's so funny. This video isn't boring. It's so funny. This video isn't boring. It's so funny. Я не уверен по поводу этого. Я не. I'm not уверен. Sure. I'm not sure. По поводу этого. То есть об этом. About it. I'm not sure about it. I'm not sure about it. Это видео очень смешное. Это видео. This video. Очень смешное. Очень. Is very. Смешное. Funny. This video is very funny. This video is very funny. This video is very funny. This video isn't boring. It's so funny. I'm not sure about it. This video is very funny. Друзья мои, вот, смотрите, курс недавно совсем у нас с вами запустился. Что мы видим в результате? Материал усложняется, тема быстро проходится, уроки достаточно подробные, много практики, это здорово. И вот, на самом деле, сами посмотрите, уже достаточно сложные предложения, то есть они граничны на уровне А0, А1. Может, какие-то моменты из А1 частично, в основном, конечно, А0, потому что действительно здесь очень такая мощная проработка. Но это здорово, друзья мои. Реально преображается наш английский язык и повышается уровень. Мы стремительно идем вперед. И вы, конечно, как всегда, большие молодцы и огромнейшие трудолюбцы. Пока-пока, до скорой встречи, друзья мои.